we are here because we literally just got back maybe an hour ago from seeing another movie, which I anticipate this is going to be a big hit. I hope I'm right. I haven't. Excuse me. I hope I'm right. I haven't followed the box office. We've been sort of sequestered. I haven't gotten any news other than what's going on here in Pittsburgh. But Jordan Peele from Key and Peele, his solo directorial debut is Get Out, which is a horror film, psychological horror film, financed and produced and presented by Universal Studios through Blumhouse Productions, or Blumhouse through Universal Studios. Blumhouse is a company. We had Blum on the show very early on in the development of their career. I guess we'll pop up the link to that interview. But Jason Blum is one of the most successful producers in Hollywood right now because he's masterminded a huge business plan in which to make sort of not micro budget but very low budget films within the horror genre generally. His typical budget is what, like $5 million, and then they spend tons of money to market the films. And we all know, like The Purge, all the Purge movies are his. I mean, he gained fame on Paranormal Activity. So when Key and Peele's show ended, he approached Jordan Peele, with the opportunity to make a horror film. And at that point, and also one of the hallmarks of Blumhouse is that they really give the author artistic reign. Like, as long as you bring it in on time and on budget, and it has certain elements, almost like the Roger Corman model. As long as it's scary and it fits within our marketing thing, you can do whatever you want. We're going to give you the freedom to do it. And so Get Out came out this weekend, and what did you think, sir?
Well,
Did it fuck with you? Did it mess up your mind?
can I say something?
Go ahead.
We're here to do film that came out during the Obama era. That was our topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. This film comes out, and we have, you can more or less say, Obama, get out.
What? Wait, that's not what it's about. You're misleading. You're misleading the audience. No.
But it's funny that this film comes up. But the thing is, that's just. I'm gonna segue away from that. Just a thought that came into my head.
This movie is very pro-black and subversive.
No. But the whole thing is, I found the title interesting. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, for those who saw the trailer months ago,
yeah. But
it
this
creates
film,
a sense of mystery.
This film here, if this film doesn't do 100 million, I'll be surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the Grudge is up there, close to 100.
Okay. If this film doesn't do 100 million, here's the thing that we're seeing it in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mixed crowd.
Yeah, I would say predominantly white, actually.
Yes.
The theater we went to, but it was there's some I guess East Indian folks, and a lot of black folks there. Very mixed crowd, yes.
And the response blew me away. But the thing is, Keanu, I didn't think much of, but this gentleman, you say Blum gave him a lot of range. The authors have a lot of range.
Basically, here's $5 million. Do
There's
whatever you want.
so many elements working in this film. This film, I'll put it this way: get out and go see it.
Okay, so we're not going to do any spoilers because the whole key, and hopefully people won't spoil it online. I mean, I know there are a lot of people that would love to give away the mystery and the twists and all that kind of stuff. But I think the fun of it is like go to see it not knowing very much at all about it, other than the fact that it's about a young black guy, and he's a blackity black guy.
Blackity black. I think that's that element.
Mm-hmm.
I think that says a lot for me. There's something about that where the person who's casting him saying, you know what, I'm gonna have a black and white relationship, and I'm gonna get the blackest sucker they can find in Hollywood to play the part.
Right. And forgive me for not knowing this actor's name. I should have read it before we got on. But and his eyes are important, as you'll discover when you watch the film. And within a lot of this, the emotion and the reaction you read through his eyes and how he's reacting, and you know,
I'll tell you one thing. This gentleman, there's a scene in there where he puts Denzel Washington to shame. You know what I'm talking about?
hmm
Because this brother, I thought he turned on a faucet. He could cry.
well, that's in the trailer. That's actually the key image. The tears coming down.
Hmm.
But so basically, I don't want to give anything about the plot away because I think the puzzle as it evolves is just um, incredible. But I think we should talk about some of the technology that's in it. I mean, this movie is incredibly
He-
subversive.
Here's the problem with we're confronted with in trying to review this kind of film, and I told you, I said, because this is your second time seeing it.
Yeah, so
And you said, Woods, you got to see this film because I want to hear what you have to say based on your 3Ds as far as miscegenation is concerned.
all right, okay. So I haven't even given away the story. So basically, the most I can say is what
The,
it's about a black guy who.
okay. I think, let me put it to you this way. If I'm looking at the trailer for this film, right, that's what everyone is excited about, either wanting to see this film or not, based on the trailer. And from seeing the trailer, you're saying, here's a brother involved with a white chick, and we don't know how her parents are going to accept this relationship.
Okay.
And it looks like, based on this trailer, they don't accept it too well.
Right, and it's kind of got like a little Kubrickian, eyes wide shut kind of vibe. Like a lot of the visual images and things are right out of like a Kubrick film, like even Clockwork Orange and different things. So it's not like your out and out horror film like Don't Breathe or something like that. It's much more psychological, and I think that's where the brilliance comes in. It's extremely subversive because, I mean, we're in an era now where we're starting to see images involving black folks that we have never really seen in mainstream American cinema. But the brilliant thing about what Peele does to me in this movie is he forces everyone in the audience to see things through the eyes of this black man for 90 minutes and guides you through a situation where viscerally, not intellectually, in terms of dealing with racism, viscerally you feel what he's feeling and you have to fight for your survival.
Here's what's important for me, and I don't want to say what came to my mind because I don't want to give it away. But
We'll talk maybe in a couple months or a few weeks. When it comes on video, we can do a spoiler version. But
yeah, because the thing is, all I have to say about this film is that it's going to resonate with people on many levels. This is a multi-layered film, and it deals with race, not on the levels that you would expect to deal with it, as far as the interracial miscegenation angle. That's one level that you immediately think is going to upset you or be the film is going to be concerned about. There are other levels in this film that a lot of people who are into conspiracies and other things, that's going to be the thing that's going to drive this film.
well, see now they done did it, Peele. Now we got to go and do another Dick Gregory interview after he has a chance to see this movie because I know his reaction is going to be on point. For those who saw it, you'll know what I'm talking
Yes.
about. But
'Cause that's what
who watched the channel.
That's who comes to my mind. I told you, Baba Dick. Oh, I would love to rap with him. I know he's going to have a field day if he goes to see this.
So, and then what else can we say about the movie? All right, so the cinematography, the story, the music, the sound design, all that stuff is top notch, right? So it delivers on all the points, in terms of things.
Here's what's also key. Brother Peele is giving us horror, but he's known for what?
Comedy.
And he doesn't let you down on that angle either. There's a gentleman in this film who steals the movie.
Well, Lil Rel, yeah, who we know from the Carmichael Show, and different stand-up comedian Lil Rel from Chicago. So, yeah, he definitely, for black folks who go to see horror movies, they will love the character, the TSA agent that Lil Rel plays, and then Erica Alexander's in
I was
there.
going to say the other person who I've seen recently, and I don't know what she's doing. I'm not.
She's exfoliating.
She is looking more and more gorgeous every time I see her. She looks great.
All right. Well, shout out to Erica from Philly. We see you.
Erica Alexander. Oh my God.
But all right. So I mean, but people. I mean, a lot of people. They're gonna watch this after they've seen. They're gonna want to know what your take is. I mean, because you're like the preeminent expert on YouTube when it comes to these interracial relationships. Now, what does this movie do that is typical of the genre or subgenre, and then how does it subvert it?
Well, I can say that.
Yeah,
I can answer that.
Yeah.
Without being spoiling anything.
Well, at this point, if you haven't seen it, you should just turn it off. We're not going to give away too much. But
Okay. Well, the thing is, my 3Ds are devastation, denigration, and destruction. Do any one of those 3Ds apply here? Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And how far is the love making? How far did that? Brothers always want to know how far that goes. How does the white girl look?
She was not hot to me, but I guess she is a prize within the eyes of all the black characters in this movie.
I thought also like once again, this actor's hue being very dark. That's something that we've come a long way from where when they used to first attempt to do this kind of relationship in films, they would always resort to the light skin.
Harry Belafonte.
Yeah, the Harry Belafonte type, or
the
the tragic mulatta of the Dorothy Dandridge or the Halle Berry types, But this here, where, as I said, when we talked about Star Wars with the brother, and who's doing it more than David Oyelowo, because interesting, with Get Out, you have his a United Kingdom coming out, and David Oyelowo is very dark.
Yes. Yeah. So, and we're dancing around certain things because we don't want to spoil. So you have the 3Ds. What's in terms of subliminal things? What stood out to you in terms of characters representing? Because like when you're talking about psychological horror, you're tapping into your subconsciousness. So there's a lot of things that are very symbolic or representative in terms of who the characters are playing and things like that. One thing I think I can say safely without giving away plot points is I think it seems to me that Peele is very interested in terms of what racism is. Like the horror is not necessarily the fear and anxiety of being confronted by difference. It's how white people literally get into our minds and affect.
Here's the thing. What's interesting, we're here because of a film festival that was launched by Brother Joe Lewis and what they've shown at the August Wilson Center. But one of the filmmakers who was there said he's learned in his attempt to be a filmmaker, he's learned that there are there are no new stories to tell.
Hmm.
One story is so much similar to another story. The trick is learning how to tell the same story in a different way.
Hmm.
And looking at this film, we've seen the same thing happen. The elements that create the horrific elements of this, we've seen it in other films.
Hmm.
What's happening with blackness, filmmakers are using blackness to tweak old formulas. That's that's one of, I feel, one of the unique things about them looking at using black as a way of tweaking old formulas and using all of the things that are associated with the issues,
Hmm.
the conflicts that racism and colorism creates, how to use that in the element, in this particular case, of a horror film.
Right. No, I mean, I didn't expect anything less from. I mean, I think from on a certain standpoint, the 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 execution of the film definitely comes as a huge surprise from Peele, from Key and Peele, because we, but it, in terms of what the elements that are in there, the like I said, the subversive information that we're getting, I think, like they said in the advertising, can only come from the mind of somebody who's really looked at this thing. And Peele, I believe he's married to a white woman. I mean, this is something that he has first-hand experience on. I mean, do you think a white director could have pulled this movie off, or anybody else for that matter, who wasn't necessarily a comedian but was more horror? I mean, because there is a sort of a delicate balance between
Well,
the nervous laughter and the really laugh out loud jokes.
well, one of the things that we discussed before we even decided to record this, and a lot of times we want to hold it, we say
Hmm.
save it, but the thing is, I saw elements of I told you I saw elements of what made David Chappelle's show so popular, where he was over the edge. He crossed some boundaries, and he did it in a way where he could be hitting your jugglers, going, touching some
Hmm.
raw issues, but through humor and the delivery of it, where it makes certain things, through humor, you're able to cross those boundaries in a way
Hmm.
where you can discuss them, you can articulate them, and you you find that your audience is getting it, but because of the humor, it doesn't smack as hard.
Hmm. Well, what's interesting to me, and I would love to hear people's comments on this. I think everybody has their own personal experiences with race, and dealing, and many of us have dated outside of our race and had that tension. I mean, there's a very key scene in the movie. I don't know if they have clips for it or whatever, where the lead actor walks up to the other black person at the party and says, or no, it was not the other black person at the party, another black character in the film, and says, like, I kind of get nervous when I'm around too many white people, and then that character reacts in a very strange and interesting way. And I think that's an anxiety that a lot of us feel sometimes. I felt like that when we first stepped out of the hotel in Pittsburgh, I was looking for that connection the first 5 or 10 minutes. I was just looking, okay, well, what's the mix here? I'm seeing a lot of white folks. I'm seeing a lot of white folks. I'm seeing a lot of white. Oh, okay, now okay,
Well,
there's somebody I can
we had
connect
an
with.
incident that had some racial undertones to it that we
Yeah.
took it
Mm-hmm.
that way, but
Right.
the interaction. But the thing is, I wanted to mention the fact that one of the exciting things for me in seeing this film tonight is that we had the opportunity to see it with a queen filmmaker
Mm-hmm.
and to get her perspective.
Right. Yeah. I haven't talked to her about it yet, but yeah. I'm curious. But yeah, I mean, one of the core things about a lot of storytelling in the horror genres, especially, is the unbalance comes when you lose a sense of safety and security. So one of the things in terms of like meeting the family, and here's a character. He's a extremely well developed character, very specific character with his background and history, where he's basically an orphan, and he's looking for a family connection, and he's building that trust and that bond with his girlfriend, and it's extending into this family. So ultimately the imbalances that happens in the film is like he wants a sense of security and safety. He is on the verge of finding it, but then he discovers something that is amiss, and it's not necessarily, I don't want to give too much away, but he, that tension, I think that's that tension. The key line in the movie is, sometimes I feel a little uncomfortable when there are too many white people around. It's because you don't have that sense of safety and security. Like sometimes you scope it out where you say, well, okay, well, at least, all right, when you see the fire exits, okay, there's one over there. Okay, it's not too many where if something were to go down, I would not feel safe. And like you were saying with the incident in the hotel, these white folks were acting up a little bit, and that double standard applies where they could get loud, but if we were to do the same thing, we would be asked to leave. So but it's one of those issues where ultimately,
They were rudely loud.
yes,
They that they made so much noise that we could not enjoy our conversation.
they'd been drinking.
And so when the person in our party, a female in our party, asked very politely, "Could you guys tone it down?" The reaction was, I didn't like the reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so those are little things that we encounter every day, and in bad situations they can escalate to the point where our lives are in danger. And I don't necessarily feel that white folks necessarily have that same anxiety when they're outnumbered. And I think that that's one of the things that this movie taps into. Like I said at the beginning of the thing, it's like for 90 minutes you're forced to see things through this guy's eyes.
Here's what's wonderful about this film. You just said something about we're seeing horror, which has been so conventionally done from a female's experience, right?
Damsel in distress kind of things.
Right? Where it's always the it's gotten so popular where it's the woman who is being terrorized, or who's being subjected to the elements of, you don't know what's going to happen next. Their life is being threatened by this. There's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but I know I'm in trouble. But it's from the woman as the victim or the intended victim.
Well, it's a threat of sexual violence that drives a female character, or kidnapping is another.
But how many films do we see, horror-wise, where the intended victim, the whole film is about the black person being the one who is the focal point of what's going to happen, the mayhem and whatnot?
I don't think there has been one. I mean, typically when you see horror films where it's primarily black folks, I mean, People Under the Stairs, it's a typical monster movie, I think, with a black character, but then like a lot of it deals with voodoo and the supernatural, like a Sugar Hill kind of thing, or
Maybe for the first time in maybe a major way, Night of the Living Dead.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Right.
Well, that's not, I wouldn't consider it a black film, but yeah, he's a protagonist, but he's not the sole focal point. There's a woman in there. They're coming to get you. Gloria, I think her character is. So it's really about the woman, and then the guy comes in with the answers. It's a very interesting film.
And the other
and this movie, Get Out, quotes Night of the Living Dead very obviously. It's another frame of reference that it uses.
But the other thing is, if you saw blacks in a horror film, they were
First one to go.
yeah. It was always the thing.
Well, that's the
where
old
you,
cliche.
you know they're not going to last long. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? This film is
Yeah, yeah, and Get Out. I think that's a nod to Eddie Murphy. Also, you remember that bit, right?
no.
Oh, that's on the first album. Well, both people, Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, did similar bits. So, Richard Pryor. I mean, you might find this on YouTube as classic, where it's the episode of Saturday Night Live that Richard Pryor did, where
The
the
Exorcist?
Exorcist shows up and the black people come. And it's like, you know, your mother sews socks in hell, you know. But you know, but that's always been the running gag. And then like Eddie Murphy on his first album, it's like, well, Amityville Horror, you know, if black people move in, get out. It's like, oops, I'm sorry, we got to go.
Right,
So
we're going. Yeah.
that's clearly a reference that he's using.
Or like Paul Mooney, with he's always made fun of the fact that white people need to get killed because they're stupid. They go places they don't belong.
They go back.
Black folks, they know where they're wanted, and when they're not wanted, they know it's time to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and he's fairly intelligent, you know, in terms of like he using his wits and getting things. I mean, one of the things.
This film, Mike,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, if it doesn't make 100 million,
Well, you know, we're still in America. I'm not.
what's that mean? What do you mean by that? We're still in America.
Well, already they have racist trolls going out and saying this is racist propaganda and it's anti-white and all this other stuff. So maybe that forces more people to go see it. I don't know. I don't care if it makes 100 million. If it makes 100,000 views, because we were talking.
So
stuff about it
you're
on-
saying already they have people saying that it's
Oh, immediately on Twitter, yeah. People are already saying that this is racist propaganda and it's anti-white.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's racism.
beautiful.
It's reverse racism.
Because you know what I have to say to that?
Mhm.
I'm so glad we saw this film where we saw it. Because what was the reaction I told you I had listening to the response to this film in this interracial mix,
Mhm.
this audience where it was more white than black. It don't fall for that crap because these are just player haters, man. This thing here, there's so many elements from on a cinematic level. This shows that things are not what they used to be as far as black images are concerned. Now, for those people who want to say whatever they want to say, film, yes, I speak about the fact that on a level of being, racist and status quo crap, yes, but, as escapism, and you want to go and hold your honey tight because she's going to get close to you because there are elements where
That's
you don't know what's
scary.
going to happen. This is an enjoyable film because it's also got great humor in it as well.
Yeah. So, we've been talking for a while. I have no idea how long we've been talking now. But we got more videos to come. I'm going to travel up to New York and hang out a little more. We'll talk about I Am Not Your Negro. We want to get this one up right away. And then really cool video. We had a chance to sit backstage with Michael Schultz, and he shared some information. I don't think you're going to find anywhere else. He doesn't really do that many interviews, but I think this is going to be a very special piece of video that we got. Very candid, where he's 50 years in directing, from Broadway and Tony Award-winning plays and all kinds of stuff to all the classics that you love, and he's got a very, very specific and from his own experience insight into why we don't get more opportunities to see movies like Get Out. So, right?
It's been fun.
All right. Okay, so we'll see you next time. If you've seen the movie already, feel free to comment. Again, hopefully we didn't spoil it for anybody, because I think, and hopefully nobody else spoils it for you, because I really think that it's not a MacGuffin, but the puzzle. It's just so interesting. This is the kind of movie that you want to see with fresh eyes, without knowing too much about it, because it really is a puzzle. It works with what your experiences, your personal experience dealing with race as somebody in this culture, in this society, where white supremacy is the dominant force. And here's a movie that really, again, use the word subverts the whole concept, and within the horror genre, which is so it's not Hidden Figures. It's not just saying racism is bad. It's really putting you mentally into a real life or death situation where you have to fight. Like if or for your own survival. And I just think it's brilliant. I mean, and it's really what Keanu should have been. Like again, like I know.
You
I,
know, right quick.
Keanu had a big opportunity to be more satirical and codifying about race, but it really played for the most part on the surface level. And very Hollywood in the sense that it was, basically like, hey, what if we took these two black people who don't necessarily live up to the stereotypical black person and put them in a situation where they've got to be the sort of gangster image of black folks. That's a great premise, but what the movie ends up doing is just it goes off the rails for me. But I know a lot of people, especially people that love cats, enjoy Keanu. But this is the real shit for me, and I want to see more from this. I don't know if I need a sequel to this.
The one thing I want to just backtrack on is
Sorry,
right quick.
Ron.
I don't want to dismiss anyone's spectatorship. If some people see it as being anti-white, that's their spectatorship.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's trolling. It's trolling.
Yeah, a number of people could see it as anti-black as well.
Well, no, but I mean that's a key point. I mean, I think no, like anytime somebody makes any kind of commentary about what is obvious in terms of racism, they get accused of being racist themselves. And just like Chappelle, I mean, Chappelle managed to handle it really well for the most part. I think that humor has always been a tool for the oppressed to speak out against the oppressor. And what this movie does is beyond that, because psychologically he puts you in the place of someone who is encountering the chance that he will be destroyed solely on the basis of his skin. And that's something that we've all become more aware of because of these camera phones, these cell phone videos, and these hashtags. But this is the first movie from and there've been lots of movies to address it, but this is the first movie that really is sort of like the Nina Simone, I wish you knew how it felt. Like, so there's no way, this movie is so detailed and specific that there's no way anybody who sees this movie, black, white, yellow, green, is not going to viscerally put themselves in the position of this protagonist. And first, I mean, we don't get that many movies where there are black protagonists generally, and we talk about that all the time. Very seldom do we get characters that are well developed where we can empathize with them to a point and sort of understand what their motivations are, which is what the horror film genre tends to do when it's written well. I mean, a lot of times they're just video games, where it's just like, oh, we've done this so many times, and audiences just go for it. Like, oh, the lights are gonna go out, and we're gonna do this. No, I think that this anybody who's attacking this movie as being racist is not getting the point.
No, what I want to say is the film works on so many levels. It's going to spark a lot of conversations. Racist, that could be some people's perspective, but racialistic, it is definitely that.
Right.
And it raises a lot of questions on racialistic perspectives, but it also raises questions on the world we live in today and how there are so many other things that are going on that people are talking about that this film in a tangential way relates to those kind of issues. And so when you see it, you'll know where I'm coming from and where Mike's coming from with that element. This film works on many elements.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a true mind fuck. It'll get in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, don't let white people get into your head too much, or else you may have to fight for your survival. If you allow them to control you too much, I think is one of the sub themes.
Well, you know what? You're talking about getting into your head.
Hmm.
People, when they see the film, they'll see that this film is about getting into your head.
No, and it's deep too.
Yes.
All right, that's it. I mean, that's a marathon. Hopefully, you watched the whole thing. If you did watch the whole thing, I'm proud of you.
And if we weren't coherent, what time is it?
Yeah, I guess.
Peace and blessings. We love you.